Hey friends, it's me Micah. This is the Homestead Bandwagon, and this is our high tunnel greenhouse, the Farmer's Friend Gothic arch style caterpillar tunnel, whatever you want to call it. We've been using this thing for about a year and a half, and I've learned a lot. There's some things we really wish we would have known before we set this thing up, and kind of regretting it now, and also some positive stuff. So what do we wish we would have known before setting up this high tunnel kit? So you know what's going on here. This is again, Farmer's Friend. This is called a Gothic arch high tunnel. So it's, instead of just being a half moon shape or circular top, it's got a arch to it for snow shedding. We got extra ribs on this thing, so 4-foot spacing, and then a kit for wind bracing because we get really high wind here, and then we also got a kit to raise the roof on this thing to make it extra tall. So 50 foot long, 16 feet wide, and I think 16 feet tall as well. We can just barely fit the tractor in here. So that's what this thing is. But let's talk about what we wish we would have known before installing this. In order to do that, I'm going to grab my wife. She's our main growist. I'm more about tearing stuff up and building stuff. She's more about growing stuff. So she'll have much more insights than I will about this whole situation. So yeah, let's get into it and talk about that. Things I wish we would have thought of doing before we put this thing in. And we can start by talking about water. Dealing with hoses in here stunk. It was terrible for you. I was always tripping over them. They're always everywhere underfoot. So it would have been smart to plan an irrigation system ahead of time and run, like you were saying, drip irrigation in the beds, which we don't have because right now you're just using hoses in here. If you had to use watering cans in here, it'd be a nightmare. It wouldn't be possible.
Forget about it. Yeah.
So we had a bunch of hoses in here, and having like a reel on the ground seemed like a good idea. It was terrible. It's all over the place, like underfoot.
It drags
impossible to reel up.
Drags across the beds if you're, trying to go from one corner to the other. And the hose that we had in here was just way too stiff, so it kept kinking up, and it was annoying.
The bigger hoses are heavy. It's just everything stunk about it. So we got one of the hose reels that we just installed. And I think having that retractable hose reel that's up off the ground will be better.
Yeah.
I'd like to dig a trench to the opposite end of the tunnel and put another one over there, or just dig a trench down the middle and have spigots every so often hooked to the drip. I don't know. Just to plan out irrigation ahead of time would have made a huge difference, because hand watering, even with the hose, is a big time suck and just inconvenient overall. But I think at least having the hose reel up off the ground where you can extend the hose out without dragging it through everything, like kind of being above everything.
Yeah, it'll be far enough above stuff that it won't really mess anything up. And if I need to, like I might put one or two, just a pole or a stake or something on one of the corners of the bed so that it'll, go around that when it need to go. But I mean, part of the reason that we didn't plan irrigation is because we weren't 100% sure how we wanted to lay out beds and stuff. So we did these cinder block beds, but I did that so that it would be easy to move it around if we decided we wanted to do it in a different configuration. And that's still a work in progress. Like, I don't know that this is the best configuration. Maybe
we can come down from above with hoses. That might be a way to go, because you have all these crossbars. You could, I don't know, we could figure it out. So that's water. Would have been nice to have irrigation planned out ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, if you knew how you were going to lay it out, or if you just chose something and, committed to that, then definitely laying out some kind of irrigation from the start would be the best.
You're watering all the time.
You have to water all the time because there's zero rain that comes in here. So even in the winter, you gotta water sometimes. Yep. And I think the good way to do it, if you were going to do beds like this, is a supply line and then a little spigot, and then you can just
every so often.
Yeah, just one per bed probably, and then from there you could do like a a row of drip lines or something like that.
We could do that. Then the other biggie, the big screw up when we put this whole thing up is we didn't put any kind of weed barrier down. We just planted it on the dirt.
Yeah.
And of course, all the plants grow great in here. The weeds grow even better. They would be up to the ceiling if we let them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an absolute jungle in here. So we just...
So we've had to weed whack and
yeah, weed whacking's, you got to be careful.
hard in here, yeah.
And you have to be careful because there's all these ropes going over the top and the string going across the top, tensioning the plastic down, and you have to keep it tight. And if you nick one of those ropes with a weed whacker,
done for.
We're toast. We've got to redo the whole rope system. That'd be an absolute nightmare to do. So
you were making me nervous when you were weed whacking over there earlier.
So you gotta be careful. So yeah, we just went in and put weed block on the edges at least. So at least we're not weed whacking next to the poles and the ropes. And we'll have to figure out the rest. You know, we've been trying to do cardboard and stuff.
That's temporary. Yeah.
It would have been smart if we would have laid out weed block the length of where the tunnel was going, and then put the posts for the tunnel through the weed block. And then you just have to do maintenance on the weed block, which is blowing the dirt away. Kind of get in here with the blower, make sure there wasn't dirt mounding up on the weed block, giving the weeds place to live. So if we could do it all over again.
Which again, I mean, we didn't do anything like that permanent because we weren't sure. But, you know, if I'm sure there's, you know, other people's plans and opinions out there about how to lay out a high tunnel. And if you just wanted to find something like that sounded good and commit to it, then that'd be a good way to go.
Yeah. But now we're gonna have to.
But I'm not that kind of person. I
weeds.
wanted to just try it out myself and decide for myself what I wanted. So.
Yeah. Other things, you know, we got the end walls on here. The end walls are a must.
Otherwise, no point.
Yeah, if somebody bought one of these high tunnels without end walls, what we were supposed to do is lay the plastic out to the end and like stake it into the ground. It would be a nightmare to deal with coming in and out of here all day long.
Terrible.
And so end walls, we bought an end wall kit, and we get a lot of high wind out here, and I had no idea that the wind would play such havoc with the end walls, especially the end wall on the east side where we get all the wind from.
The wind always comes from that side.
And we've got the barn over on the east side, which I thought would be a block. It doesn't do much of anything. And so we kind of tore out the zippers on the end wall on the east side. So I built a janky little framework to kind of support the end wall, the flappy end wall. But it is what it is. So I guess it would have been good to plan that ahead of time, knowing that the wind was going to push on it. Now there are end wall kits or end walls I've seen where people build them with just like a single door, like a regular man-sized door.
Yeah, just framing a door into it would be nice.
But then you can't get wheelbarrows in, nothing. I don't know.
I would do big double doors like that, like that wide, but it, you know, might not hold up with the wind.
Might be a pain in the neck. So these end walls are fine, but you got to have a step ladder in here because if you're not 6 feet tall, it's hard to.
Yeah, the clips that hold. So you got to roll up the end wall. The zippers are already all messed up, so sometimes they get stuck.
Yeah.
And then you got to roll it up and clip it. Yeah. And it is just this much too tall for me because I'm only 5'2".
Yeah, the straps aren't quite long enough.
So I have to get up on something every day to clip it because right now it's springtime, so the weather is volatile. Come summertime, we'll keep it up all the time.
Yeah.
And in the winter, you don't need to roll it. You know, you never need to vent it, really. But right now, in the shoulder seasons, in spring and fall, every day I gotta
up and down.
Every morning, vent it. Every night, close it up.
So you gotta have your step ladders out here to deal with that.
Finally, I just put a step ladder at each end that just stays there. So I don't have to move things around. But.
I wish we would have known that before that end wall got kind of busted up. That I should have put a framework up ahead of time.
You know what? That's really something that I would, if you know, Farmer's Friend was asking my opinion, then I would say certainly make that so that somebody shorter could manage it. Because there's plenty of people who are farmers who are not 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And last thing that really gets on my nerves, which I had no idea how much rodents would love this place. I guess it kind of makes sense because it's sheltered from the weather.
Yeah.
But
yeah, they moved in immediately.
There are murder holes everywhere. They've moved in.
Yeah, we have a bad vole problem in this area. There are voles everywhere.
Voles, moles, rats, mice, rabbits, everything that goes underground.
But I think mostly what all this is voles.
Yeah. Well,
we know there's been rats in here too, though. So.
And part of that was like the chicken coop is right next door
right there
to this thing. So the rats kind of just move back and forth. We'll get them. The voles, I don't know what to do with them. They're just burrowing all over. I think if we would have, again, put weed barrier the length of this thing, I really think that.
It might have.
The voles won't dig through that, I think. So having a plan to deal with the rodents probably would have been a really good idea. Oh, well. Yeah, that wasn't the end of the world. What are your overall impressions just initially using this thing? Because we've been using it like 2 years.
Year and a half.
Year and a half. Because it sat in the box in the field for a year and a half before I got around to putting it up. I think it's been an overall. I think it's been an overall positive. I'm shocked by how much food you've been pulling in year round out of here. Like during the winter, you were pulling in greens all winter long, and peas and beans and whatever else.
Well, they didn't have peas in the middle of the winter, but
they're not peas.
All these peas are from the peas that I planted last spring.
Yeah.
They grew really good, and then I let them just go to seed and drop seed, and then they sprouted in the fall. And then, late winter, super early spring, we started harvesting peas, and now they've just been going gangbusters for weeks now.
Yeah.
And if we were to try to plant those outside, they would, still too cool outside, they would just be tiny. So it's definitely, and then it definitely gives us a head start on a lot of things, because also last year around this time I planted cucumber seeds, and cucumbers need it hot. And I just planted some cucumber seeds to come on. Once it gets too hot in here, then these peas will be done, and then the cucumbers will come on, and we'll have cucumbers probably easily 2 months earlier than we could outside. So
Yeah,
I've been surprised at how much heat it holds in, and how even if it's like now it's like somewhat overcast, but it's enough sun coming in that it still heats up in here. And if it gets fully sunny, then it heats up to like 90 in
really
a few
fast.
minutes. Yeah.
It'll be kind of chilly outside. You put your hoodie on outside, and you come inside, and you're sweating like instantly.
It's way too hot. Yeah. And so another thing that I've been surprised about, and this is the first this year because I didn't do these last year, but I've been sprouting things like zinnia seeds in here, and zinnias need it hot. And so I've sprouted zinnia seeds in here, no heat mat, no nothing, just from the extra heat that it heats up in here, they've been able to sprout. Whereas if we were to plant those outside, we wouldn't be able to even sprout them until July. Like, we can't grow zinnias direct seeded outside here. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, really. Mm-hmm. What zone are we?
We're a zone 8A or B, depending, which is like the same kind of a zone as Georgia, but the zones are just the minimum temperatures. And so we never get hot like in Georgia. And so even though we're a zone 8, it's a cool zone 8.
Yeah. It's very cool. Like, we're still getting freezing temperatures in April.
Almost, we had frost right up till the end of April.
Yeah.
And now we have a low couple nights here down in like just above freezing, like 34, 35, still in this beginning of May.
Yeah. But overall, been a really positive thing. This thing's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, another thing that I'll mention, I grew pineapple sage and lemon verbena and a lantana in that pot over there last summer. And those are the kind of things that we usually would not ever be able to overwinter here. And I brought that whole pot in the fall, And of course the whole thing died back over the winter, but it's all survived and now it's all coming back, which I'm fully shocked about, because the minimum temperatures still get down to the minimum in here. This doesn't really provide any protection for overnight temperatures. The overnight temperature in here is basically the same as outside. So I don't know why those have been able to overwinter in here, if it's just that much more protection, or if it's a combination of that and the, you know, keeping the extra rain off of it. That's another thing, like being able to have a dry space in here that where we can completely control the water is also a game changer for this, for our climate where it's so wet.
Mm-hmm. The other thing we forgot that we wish we would have known before we put this thing up. Do you like Rod Stewart?
No.
Don't like Rod Stewart? Why not?
Not my jam.
Like not even when he was in The Little Faces?
I don't know what that is.
That was the band that he was in before he was just Rod Stewart. Well, I think that's it then.
I guess the only thing that I wish I would have known is that I wish I would have known that I'd want two.
Wow. I guess if Farmer's Friend's watching this, maybe they'll send you out an extra one.
We got
I wish
plenty
we would
of
have
space.
had room for a longer one. This is 50 feet long. We could have used 100 feet right away. We just don't have the room.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be two then.
Yeah. All right. That's all we know. And I wish we would have ordered extra plastic right from the start, because this plastic, I think we're going to get 3, maybe 4 years out of it tops and have to replace it.
Yeah, that's standard. 3-4 years is pretty standard in the
I heard
industry.
you tighten down the ropes really tight every year, and it stops the plastic from breaking from all the vibration. So we got to tighten these down again. So, all right, that's all I know.